Hello, I'm Pam Hoffman, Everyday Spacer.
I'm Jeff Miller, 2049 Outfitters.
At Everyday Spacer, we show regular folks how to personally and directly participate in space exploration, science, and astronomy. We're here on Friday nights at 9 p.m. Pacific Time, 12 midnight Eastern Time, and 2 p.m. on Saturday in Queensland, Australia. We're broadcasting live from Thousand Oaks, California.
Happy Independence Day, USA. We'll be back in 8.3 seconds.
So tonight's episode will be a little bit more free-form, and maybe we'll introduce some topics, have a discussion, or it becomes food for thought. We wanted to talk about freedom since it's, Independence Day here in the United States, or yesterday was. And of course, there's other countries who have an Independence Day. We might even speculate on the Babylon 5 Mars independence, because that was one of the things that they explored in those episodes about Babylon 5, that they would break away from the Earth. And heck, will that happen in our future if we do colonize other places? Hey, Scott, I see Scott's here.
Oh. Yeah, hi, Scott.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's nice and warm here. Probably where you are, too.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Oh, just thinking about colonies breaking away from Earth. How can they not?
Yeah.
Because it's not like, anything from Earth has to get lifted out of our gravity well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the ability to enforce any kind of control outside of Earth orbit.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Minimal. Even the moon, which is fairly close by,
right.
Robert Heinlein did a book about that.
I see Janie's here.
Yep.
Hello, Janie. Welcome. I hope you're having a nice holiday weekend.
Yep.
And of course, other countries like, there's one very small city in Mexico who on May 5th declared their independence from the French army, and now we in the United States celebrate Cinco de Mayo. Yeah. So weird things like that happen. It's like nobody in Mexico celebrates Cinco de Mayo except for that little city that, Anyway. All right, so go ahead, Jeff.
Okay. There's something about freedom. Freedom allows for innovation. It's also about saying something that the government disagrees with without risking persecution. Freedom isn't free, and freedom still needs to be fought for. What does freedom mean to you guys? We'll visit for a bit and talk about freedom. We forgot to tell you about worms on Mars last week, and maybe we'll discuss some other things. You are welcome to join us and have a conversation.
So last week, Jeff was talking about soil on Mars, detoxifying it, right?
Yep.
And one of the ideas that we wanted to talk to you about, we didn't do it.
Yes. Okay. So did have the conversation that regolith essentially means dirt.
Yeah.
But dirt isn't soil. You can't grow stuff necessarily in dirt. But using worms and human waste, you basically mix human waste into the regolith, which doesn't really do much for growing stuff. But worms can process the two together and turn it into soil. You can actually grow stuff in.
Back up a little bit, because when we were at ISDC for a day last May in Los Angeles, there was a whole nice presentation. I thought it was quite well done, and they talked about worms being very important to the soil remediation.
Yeah,
and it really could be anywhere.
Right. Yeah, they basically had basically simulated Martian regolith without the percolates in it. Percolate, whatever that word is. Perchlorates, yes.
I know what you meant.
And they were able to turn it from something that grew plants very poorly to grew plants really well.
Yeah.
And
it was actually a very fascinating.
Yeah. And so I talked to him afterward and asked him, gee, maybe you should talk to Greg, who's worm farmer.
Oh, Greg Allison.
Greg Allison, yes. Maybe he should talk to Greg Allison, since Greg Allison knows a bit about worms. And he told me, where do you think I got the worms? So Greg Allison is part of that. If not,
And Janie says, grateful for freedom to explore YouTube with everyday spacers and podcasts to learn about amazing life enhancements. Absolutely. Isn't it a wonderful thing? You can teach yourself almost anything nowadays.
Yep.
Just watch a video. It never gets tired. It never has anything to say to you. It doesn't leave. It doesn't.
You do have to self-curate a little bit, though.
A little bit. So when I was creating the graphic for tonight, I did find on Canva, that's the platform I use, a whole bunch of things about Independence Day in India and Indonesia, Malay, Philippines. I didn't even really think about those, but all kinds of different countries out there. Taiwan, I know, has an Independence Day. And I was wondering too, and I don't really see Cliff here yet, but they must have something with an Independence Day there. I don't know, but anywhere in the world, quite possibly could have or has had an Independence Day of some sort. Yeah, Scott's got a.
Yeah, Scott. The biggest thing about Mars regolith is are the elements like iron and calcium in it. And are they water soluble so plants can absorb them?
That is an awesome question. We have to get back to that guy and see if he'll be a guest on our show.
Yeah, and it's possible that one of the things that the worms do through their digestive process is possibly pre-process some of that stuff. I don't know. So that would be a good question. My guess is yes, only because you don't. It's not iron ore, and it's not like a big chunk of calcium. It's bound. It's mineral bound, and thus probably. I mean, now it can be mineral bound really hard to things, but most likely it's water soluble.
That'd be a great test, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would.
So one of the things that came to me by email, and I'm going to go ahead and add this right now, was this article that it gets requests every year. Ken McCarthy gets requested every year. I'm going to add the link to, if you would like to go and read this yourself. I think it was pretty interesting, and I have read it a couple of times, and I thought it was kind of poignant what he said about, in some places they still read the Declaration of Independence. It's called Independence Day for a reason. I'm not sure how Independence Day morphed into the 4th of July, but I can make a good guess. Independence Day means something. The 4th of July is a date on the calendar, like calling Christmas the 25th of December. We do all know that the 4th of July is a stand-in for Independence Day. And I don't want to read this whole thing to you, but I do recommend you take a look at it. A lot of people know about the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness part, but there's a lot more to it. And I actually have a copy of it here. I will look at a little bit of it and read some of it. I think a lot of it was grievances against the King of England, which was King George at the time, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny to read.
Specific, yeah.
Yeah, very, very well, he did this and we didn't like it. It's kind of funny.
Well, actually, no, it's more a list of these are the reasons.
Yeah, these are our grievances.
Well, and it's more than that because they already sent the grievances over, and they basically decided to start a campaign of terrorism about it. So our response was to say, well, this is why we can't be part of England anymore. That's what the Declaration of Independence was.
Well, like I said, I have it here in front of me. I will read parts of it to you. I won't read the whole thing of that either. I absolutely recommend, because you can get these little booklets from a variety of places. I know this one came from Hillsdale College. Just request it and you can get it for yourself, especially if you're in the United States. I think it's very important to know what exactly we are all about. And we have another comment I see.
And if you're in a country that doesn't have freedom, might be a good roadmap.
Well, and a lot of countries do base their own documents of this sort on the documents that we created.
Yeah.
Worms would help to at least crush the particles. Yep.
And mix with and that's part of what they do. Yeah.
Oh, I should bring the show notes back so we actually know what we're talking about.
No.
There, you're up.
Okay. So the Constitutional Convention. Oh, well, first off, with the Constitutional Convention and the
Let me share.
Yeah, Continental Congress was first, And the First Continental Congress, which people think is where the Declaration of Independence happened, wasn't. That was where they sent a list of grievances to the king in England. And
of course, we're talking about the United States still.
Right.
And that's the one we know the most about.
Yeah. It was the Second Continental Congress when the response from England wasn't was unfavorable.
Did they even respond?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh, they did. Okay.
By doing some pretty nasty things.
I see.
For the affront of actually asking for injustices to be redressed. That's where they declared independence. And it wasn't until the First Continental Congress, Second Continental Congress.
That's a Wikipedia page. It looks like, yeah.
Yeah. And the Confederation Congress is where they created the Constitution. And
so we had a whole bunch of different groups that started to get us to where we are now.
Yeah, there were a couple of groups. Really and
do you have dates for some of those? This is
it's wiki. I definitely have dates.
1781. Oh, that's after the
and yes, it was after the war because hard to develop, hard to need a constitution, until then. But have archives.gov. They have a bit of stuff on it. The best thing they have is that they actually have the actual text, both photocopy of the actual text and transcribed out.
Cool.
Otherwise, it's a really poor description of it.
Okay.
But here in ushistory.org has a much better because one of the things is that the Constitution was it was basically put together by two groups. One group, Alexander Hamilton, was a proponent of order and essentially wanted to make an American England. He wanted our government to be British government, just with our group in charge. And then there was James Madison, who was a follower of Thomas Jefferson. But Thomas Jefferson was over in France, being our diplomat with France, because they were our biggest supporter. Because one, we were anti-British at the time, and
made it easy for them.
And two, because they saw our revolution as similar to their revolution. Not, but we didn't go slaughtering a whole bunch of
revolutions
people.
Are revolutions, right?
Yeah. Ours was more of a defense rather than a slaughter fest. But sorry, French people out there, but hey, read your own. Actually, listen to your national anthem. The streets will run red with blood. Yeah, that's
pretty. Yeah.
Pretty graphic. But so between these two groups, you had one group that we need order, and the other group, we need liberty. They didn't talk about freedom; they talked about liberty. And so they recognized, even the group that wanted liberty recognized, well, not all of them, but most of them recognized that you needed to have order. But it had to be controlled order. There had to be order of the order, essentially.
Order to the order.
Yeah.
All right.
And so they were very much, the Constitution is about the limits of power.
Yes.
And created three branches that were to act as checks on each other. And their whole thought is that there should be no power without a check on that power. And that's what eventually developed from the Constitution. And they talked about this.
Again?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the founders were ever mindful of the dangers of tyrannical government. Well, Alexander Hamilton wasn't, but then he was he had a bit of a temper and ended up dying in a duel, which is
Oh.
why there was no Alexander Hamilton for president. Just about everyone else involved ended up being president at some
At one point.
Yeah. So federalism, basically checks and balances, different branches of government. Then also federal government versus state governments.
Yeah, we are in fact a federation of federations. Each state is its own federation. Republic. Sorry, it's
right,
republic. Yeah. We are a republic of republics.
Right.
Sorry, you got me on a federation talk.
Yeah, yeah. And actually, before the Civil War, we refer to ourselves as a confederation of independent states. It's only when after the Civil War, actually, this whole Civil War was about the southern states didn't want to pay an unfair tax, and so they wanted to secede, kind of like we already did with England. And the Unionists decided that instead of being a confederation of independent states, we needed to be a union. And that's actually what that war was fought about.
Okay.
The fact that the North didn't have very many slaves and the South depended on them meant that we could use slavery as another tool of they're wrong because they have slaves. But that was just an excuse in there. Yeah. They wanted to keep the country together.
Do you have a bunch of notes here? Are you done with those or?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we have archives.gov. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
And yeah, if you just go to archives.gov or they have the Constitution of the United States, and this is really neat. If you want to try to read that, you can full screen it. I'm not gonna because they also have a read a transcript, which is right here.
Much easier.
Yeah. And one of the things, it's very well, if you want to look at how to write a good document for something, this is actually very well written. It starts with all legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in the Congress of the United States, which shall consist of, basically each section is, ... It starts with we the people of the United States in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. So it was...
A lot of us know we the people.
Right.
However, I think some of the other stuff gets lost, which is equally as important.
Right. So they're talking here both about order and liberty. Mm-hmm. You have to have some control, aside from, some people thought wanted it to be no controls. But
well, in your notes here, you have fortunately George Washington's refusal of kingship.
Yes. Yeah, it helped tip the favor toward liberty.
Yeah, I can imagine not being wanted to be a king like King George was.
Well, it meant that he was pretty much the United States' first soldier, because he fought for us, not for himself. A lot of other countries, would have, a lot of other people in history would have taken that power.
Oh, become king.
Yeah. So, so the first sections are what is, what are the branches of government and how are they formed? It's pretty interesting about what they do, and all bills, right, for raising revenue originated in the House of Representatives. But the Senate may propose or concur with amendments on other bills, which kind of means that any fee, and in fact, we just had a Supreme Court ruling on this, is that government agencies can't impose taxes or fees. without them being written into law by
Mm.
House of Representatives. So, we just had the Supreme Court ruling on that. But Section 8 is where it lists the Congress has these 17 powers and only those. And it's very clear that these are the powers of Congress, nothing else.
Hmm.
There is another list somewhere down later on where it lists these are the things that the government is not allowed to do. So they were very, it has to be able to do certain things. To borrow money on the credit of the United States, regulate commerce with foreign nations, and amongst the several states and with the Indian tribes. So notice nothing about in the state, just between the states. And and essentially the federal government is basically meant to only deal with external matters and matters between states. It's not quite that anymore, but that's what it was meant to be.
Arbitration.
Yeah.
Basically. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So 3 branches of government: legislative, executive, and judicial.
Right.
And legislative makes the laws. Executive approves them and has certain powers other than that. And judicial enforces the laws. And judicial can't make laws, and if the legislature makes laws that the executive doesn't like, they'll veto them. And so it's all designed to no one group can take over. And so that's
and
where
I believe that is also
they have the
booklet.
whole text of it.
Yeah, they have a whole bunch of things in here. Declaration of Independence. I think they even have the Bill of Rights.
Yeah.
Declaration of Independence, Constitution of the United States of America, amendments to the Constitution, and then they talk about their own courses.
Yeah, and the Bill of Rights is one of the amendments.
Okay.
So
yeah, I was gonna say,
it's just a common word for it is Bill of Rights.
Got it.
Or so I just think that we have to thank the founding fathers for providing a structure that has let us essentially survive 250 years ish of at least partial freedom. I mean, you can't have total freedom, otherwise you have murderers running loose. But our guys did it. Other guys have done it. Oh, there's Cliff.
Hey, Cliff. While I was in Virginia, they took me to Monticello. Oh, good.
Oh, yes.
Saw the draft and real Declaration of Independence, Thomas Jefferson's home. I didn't know it was displayed, and that makes sense, though.
Yeah.
Jefferson's home.
Yeah.
That is a beautiful property.
Yeah, and he was one of the founders of that, and really wanted to be part of the creation of the Constitution. However, certain people didn't. Alexander Hamilton didn't want him to be part of it, and had long before they started working on that, got him the prestigious position of ambassador to France, and told him to F off overseas.
Okay.
But oddly enough, it was his ambassadorship with France that got us rice. The United States couldn't grow rice. We didn't have any rice.
Cliff says he did write it.
Yep. Not the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. But France had rice, and it was considered a national treasure. Thus, you couldn't export rice that hadn't been like scraped and bleached and whatever to kill it. You couldn't sell. You couldn't transport seed rice.
Seed rice, okay.
And he had basically a cartload of rice as a diplomatic thing that got seized, but he also had rice in his pockets. So he had seed rice in his coat pockets.
Took some of his gift with him.
Yeah, and so he smuggled it out of France and started growing it on its property, grew enough to start distributing it, and
It's fascinating.
that's how we got to be able to grow rice. Very minor footnote, but I liked the guy.
Yeah, there's a lot to admire there. So, Cliff, talk to us about is there an Independence Day for Australia? I'm not even sure, and I didn't check because it's been too hot and we've been celebrating. So yeah, like I said before, in some places they do read the Declaration of Independence on Independence Day, and it used to be a regular thing all over the country. So I'm going to read you just a little bit of it. I recommend you get it. It is a very interesting document. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. So that's the very first chapter. And of course, I think a lot of us remember parts of the second paragraph. We hold these truths to be self-evident. That is a very common phrase among us here in the United States, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Pursuit, not guaranteed.
Yes, that's important.
That's very important. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. I saw we got a comment there.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'd like to see a picture of it.
Awesome. So yeah, and a lot of this again is, they call out the things that the king was doing. He has refused his assent to laws, the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance. And remember, there's an ocean away. Nothing's happening very fast. Unless suspended in their operation till his assent should be obtained, and when so suspended he has utterly neglected to attend to them. He has refused to pass other laws for the accommodation of large districts of people. A lot of this is their specific detailed grievances against King George. And there's about 5 pages of this in here, and then there's signees from the different colonies, really the 13 colonies. But yeah, it's a wonderful, wonderful document. And a lot of other places have used it as a basis for their own. So, yeah. All right. And I put a note in here that maybe we speculate on what might happen as we move on into space, because, of course, we talk about space here.
Yeah.
And I really like the thing on Babylon 5, which kind of spells out what possible. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, well, Babylon 5 assumes a really almost magical ability to move around in space.
Okay, yeah.
Whereas not even counting hyperdrive, but just the speed at which they can get from one spot to another in the same solar system was, basically they were traveling at the speed of plot. Because I don't think that, like, Martian independence, Mars would only depend on the Earth so long as they need resources to survive. Because once they don't have resources to survive, what is Earth going to do? Let's see. We'll send a warship. Let's see. They're sending something. It's coming.
We'll see it coming for months.
Yeah, it'll be here in 6 to 9 months. Okay.
Plenty of time to get ready for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
space is big.
Yeah. Hey, maybe we'll put out something to intercept it. Don't have to destroy it, just have to damage it, about a third of the way here. What'll it do then?
But I think it just, displays a good point that things are so far apart, it's not really very practical. I don't even think it's very practical to warfare in space. It's just too much ground to cover. And
Oh, lots of discussions on
yeah, I'm sure
that.
some really good books too.
Yeah.
The Honor Harrington series is very
right.
good.
But the fact that fighting in space is actually really hard.
I can imagine.
Missiles are about the only things that you can really use, because anything else has to be a knife fighting distance.
Okay.
Because
yeah, Earth and Mars, no.
Yeah. Well, just two spaceships.
Even missiles.
They're so small compared to everything else. And the farther away you are, the harder of a target they are. Because each object,
if you're off even a little bit, it gets worse and worse.
Not even that.
As it goes.
Because if you're shooting at someone, are they going to stay there, or are they going to jig, or are they going to move randomly, up, down, sideways?
So here's a question for you. Could the move into space bring peace for everyone? There's a lot of resources out there, and
Arthur
C. Clarke, of room for people to grow, to go. And
I'm a little bit
so no,
too pessimistic for that.
Okay.
Arthur C. Clarke would have said yes.
Okay.
Robert Heinlein would have said, "Are you kidding?" I'm more of a Heinlein.
He was a military guy too.
Yeah, so he knew.
I don't think Clarke was.
No, oh no.
Yeah. Okay.
No, Clarke was a hippie.
Oh, okay. Okay.
They didn't have hippies back then, but he was a hippie.
Got it. But think about it. If there's a lot of room and there's a lot of resources, and there's not that,
people don't need a reason.
It's true, but you can get away from.
You have the wrong hair color is a reason. You speak the wrong language is a reason.
Yeah.
You're over there doing your own thing that isn't the thing that I do. That's a reason. Go
get your own damn space station then.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
You don't have to stay here. You can go somewhere else.
Yeah, but that's the thing is
there's room. There's room. There's resources.
But there's always people who essentially don't want you to have. I call them hyenas.
Okay.
Because hyenas, if they have a bunch of food, they'll eat what they can.
Yeah.
And then defecate on what they can't eat.
Okay.
So that no one else can have it. And that's how some people operate.
That's a hell of an image. Thanks.
Yeah. Well, that's how some people operate.
So
Let's
there's
just
no
destroy
real
it.
point to that. I mean, just.
Yeah. Well.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
I don't think everybody's like that.
Um.
Also, space is big enough to put them somewhere else because
that's the thing.
They're troublemakers.
Is that everyone isn't like that, which means that we have to protect everyone from people like that.
Janie Becker, how rude. Hyenas. Sounds like, I didn't know that about them.
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
I just remembered that mostly because there's some people who act that way. So
I see.
You have to protect the people who. That's why we have a military, folks. Their job is to protect people who are nice.
Hyenas?
No, their job is to be not nice, to protect people who are nice. That's
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Freedom isn't free.
Or hyenas on the ark? I have no idea.
Well, probably.
They've been rough on the rest of the party.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So if you have comments about that, we'd love to hear it. Cliff, if you can talk to us about Independence Day for your country, if there is such a thing. I don't know. We didn't, like I said, didn't get a chance to look. I suspect there is because it used to be part of the British Empire, right?
Yeah.
And it no longer is, I think.
Right. Yeah. It's not.
I don't think so.
Yeah, we didn't have a lot of time because both Wednesday and yesterday were spent watching fireworks.
Yep.
Because one city near us did them on the 3rd because it's cheaper apparently on the 3rd.
Fireworks on the brain here.
Yeah. And so we were busy doing that.
And they were good too.
Then last night we went to the local show, which was also very good.
It was very good. Yeah. Of
course, on the 3rd, we got a twofer show.
The launch.
Firefly launched.
Firefly. Yeah.
Yeah. And so.
And I took a video of it and I thought I hung it on Facebook and I'm looking, it's the wrong one. It's not the one.
Yeah.
When I tried to get it the night before, when it didn't launch, it got scrubbed.
Yeah.
So. Well, if in fact we could go to space and make room for everybody, and you can practice whatever you want, your religion, your diet, whatever, it's potentially possible that if there's room for that. There's room for everybody to be who they are and what they do. And
you just have to convince all the bad guys to go off where the only ones that they can fight
each other
are other strong bad guys instead of the weak good guys over there.
Oh, but that's just... Oh, here we go. Oh, Australia Day, 26th of January, signing of our Constitution in 1904. Thank you, Cliff.
Yep.
And now we know.
Yep.
And now everybody knows. Awesome. Okay. 1904. Huh.
Yep.
And I know a lot of countries have separated from, because I think they had limits on. I know Hong Kong was it 50 years when they would get their independence, which they have from England anyway.
Well,
now they're part of China.
Well, they were given they weren't given independence. Hong Kong never had independence.
Okay.
They were essentially given to China, who said that they would be under their own rule for 50 years, which then China.
Yeah, no.
It was a Chinese promise, which,
That's almost a swear word now.
Yeah.
It's like a Chinese promise.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, meaning it lasted until it was inconvenient. And then it was gone.
All right. Well, yeah, and I know there's lots and lots of other ones out there, and I think the natural disposition of a people's is to head for freedom. And when there's tyranny, they start to do other things, to create parallel systems or fight for their freedoms again. I see Cliff said something. Yeah.
Yeah.
So something going on with the internet again. Oh,
yeah.
Sorry,
Cliff.
man.
Yeah, I figured that's why we were getting double and triple posts from you.
Yeah.
I figured that it was just your internet hiccuping.
Yeah. All right. So if you know of any other Independence Day stories, or like Cliff posted for Australia Day, 26th January, that's really cool. Let us know. It'd be really nice to find out about that. I think that, like I said, any peoples are going to come to the point of where they just can't stand it anymore, and they're going to do something to make a change. And there's lots of ways to do that.
That's what Montana's all about.
Montana? Huh?
That's where basically people who want to be left alone just...
They go to Montana?
Head off to Montana.
I see. Whole lot of nothing up there, I suppose.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, but I actually read a book. It's sitting here somewhere about protesting certain governments that are too tyrannical with Legos and stuff. It's pretty funny. All right, so we should go to the next segment.
What do you do? Sneak into their bedrooms at night and throw Legos on the floor?
No, they set them up like protesters, because they weren't allowed to protest in person. So they set up all these little Legos with little signs and stuff. And it was so ridiculous to see them, like, it's illegal, but they're toys. Mm-hmm. It's a really good book. So.
Okay.
Ask me about it if you want to know.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Some stellar events this week, July 5th through July 12th. Remember to visit skymaps.com. Every month they have a free 2-page PDF of the sky map for that month.
Mm-hmm. All kinds of stuff. Go to ephemera and a list of objects to look for.
You going to be talking about the Farmer's Almanac?
Yeah, I think I'll go into it, because there's some really good stuff this month. It's really some. We're gonna have some more planets happening. That's the cool thing. I think planets are a little more interesting to look for. I mean, knowing the names of stars and stuff is good too.
Aren't planets happening every month?
Yeah, but you don't necessarily see them from the Earth. And they call it Skywatch here at the beginning of the Farmer's Almanac. This is the one I like. On the morning of the 1st, the thin crescent moon can be seen above Mars at 4:45 a.m. On the 2nd, the moon stands between Jupiter and Mars, due east at 4:45 a.m. On the 3rd, Jupiter is very close to the moon. A lovely conjunction best seen due east between 4:45 and 5 a.m. If you're a morning person, good month for this. On the 14th and 15th, Mars meets Uranus at 4:45 a.m. Lots of stuff at 4:45 a.m. Due east at a comfortable 30 degrees high. Use binoculars to enjoy the orange color of Mars and the green of Uranus. So you can see it with binoculars. We were debating that for a while. Both seen to the right of the Pleiades and upper right of Jupiter. Mars and Jupiter steadily approach each other all month, culminating in the formation of a tight triangle with a crescent moon on the 30th. Okay.
Oh, and yeah, so Farmer's Almanac is basically U.S. thing, but there is an Australian version.
Is there? Oh, did you put it upside down?
Yes, I did.
Okay. I gotta live with this. I just get to share sometimes. You're here.
Okay.
You're here.
July 5th is the new moon, and Earth is at aphelion.
Aphelion.
Yeah. PH is supposed to be an F sound. Aphelion.
Maybe it is. I don't know. I just always heard aphelion.
Yeah, it is.
Because it's like a Helios. It's
yeah.
Okay.
July 6th, Venus and the moon are in conjunction. Look for it in the evening.
Yeah, they didn't really talk about the evening stuff, but maybe it's pretty low. Maybe.
Yeah, so
because the new moon is the 5th, the 6th is that's 1 day old moon is just above the horizon, and it's very small and it's gone fast.
Yeah.
So
and just so you know,
quick.
So this is the beginning of the month. They say that Mercury and Venus will be evening. Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn will be seen in the mornings. This month. July 7th, Mercury and the moon are in conjunction, and Mercury is 3.2 degrees south of the moon.
Another one
and
for
Mercury. And Mercury is 0.1 degrees south of the Beehive cluster, aka M44. July 8th, Jupiter is 4.7 degrees north of Aldebaran.
That's a big bright star in Taurus, I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is.
And didn't that planet get blown up in Star Wars?
I don't know.
Wasn't that where
I'm a Star Trek person more.
Princess Leia was from?
I don't know. I know Star Trek more than Star Wars.
July
I have to watch it again.
July 9th, Regulus is 3.1 degrees south of the moon. July 12th, the moon is really busy. It's on the equator. It's descending node, and it's at apogee.
It doesn't know all that.
2.51.
It was just doing its thing.
251,260 miles, or something meters for everyone else.
Yeah.
It's
a very casual episode, people. Just roll with it.
July 12th is our Friday night show. Would you like to take better pictures of the night sky? Then you'll want to join us next week because we have a guest. I'll tell you more very soon. Yeah, it better be a guest because I don't know how to take better pictures of the night sky.
Me neither.
You've seen some of mine. They're all fuzzy.
Mine are bad.
I might need a better
Hopefully he can help us out.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
Find us Fridays at 9 p.m. Pacific time on the Everyday Spacer Facebook page and the Everyday Spacer YouTube channel.
What inspires you the most for this coming week? If you or someone you know has done something interesting involving space exploration, science, or astronomy, we love to share our live. Join us again next Friday, July 12th. Like we said, we have a guest. His name is Bob Stuffrigan. We're going to find out. He's a photographer, and he can give us pointers on taking better photographs in general. And I've seen some of his photos, and they are fantastic. He really likes to take big Milky Way pictures, and he's going to talk to us about that, including this that really intrigued me. He's going to share another use for the APOD images. And APOD is Astronomy Picture of the Day. If you haven't heard of that, every day you can look at, is it apod.org? apod.org?
I think
so. It's a NASA website. Yep. I would put in Astronomy Picture of the Day or
it'll
APOD.
Go right to it. It'll go right to it.
A search engine will find it for you. And take a look. So I can't wait to hear what Bob has to say about using APOD pictures in a different way. I really have no idea what he means. He sent us some bio information, and we'll talk about that when we set up our graphic and stuff. But it's going to be interesting. I'm really excited because I think he does classes too. I looked at his website, and he offers some mentoring and workshops and stuff. So might be worth taking.
Just occurred to me.
I'd love to do better.
I didn't show this tab, but one of the best write-ups of the U.S. Constitution. Oh, you don't have to show the tab. It was Britannica.
Oh.
They had one of the best write-ups. I just wanted to put that out there.
This is what I was going to do here. Yeah, Janie, have you seen some of those astronomy picture of the day? They're amazing.
Yeah.
And some of those are well, some of them are in the public domain because they're by NASA, and some of them are actually copyrighted by individuals. You can, in fact, post if you have a good picture. You can send it to them and see if they'll post it for you, and they'll put your name on it and links to where you want them to. It's a really cool operation. So maybe he's, I don't know. I really don't know what Bob has in mind. So
yeah,
I'm really curious to find out. So join us next week.
Maybe he makes memes out of them.
I don't know. Anything else from you?
No, I think I've caused enough trouble.
Yeah. Anything else from you? We will continue to watch for your comments. Oh, let's do a shout out. Janie and Cliff and
Scott.
Scott was here. I don't know what. Oh, I know. Dawn is she's recovering. So yeah.
Okay.
I totally understand.
Get better soon, Dawn.
Yeah, we hope you feel better soon. All right, folks. Thanks so much for being here. We really, really appreciate it. If you're in the United States, happy Independence Day.
Yep.
We'll see you next.
Good night, folks.
Friday. Good night.